the holographic projector whirred to life, casting a shimmering blue light across my dimly lit workshop. My heart raced as I watched the familiar figure of Zilthar materialize before me, his green skin glistening with a faint luminescence. He wore that playful grin I had come to adore, the one that always made my worries fade. But this time it felt different. He was gone, and yet here he was, sending me a message from beyond the stars. "Alex, my dear friend." Zilthar's voice echoed, rich with warmth and mischief. "If you're watching this, it means I've finally embarked on my greatest adventure, the one that leaves you with quite the surprise." "Surprise?" I muttered under my breath, skepticism creeping in. I leaned closer, captivated yet cautious, as he continued. "You see, I've left you an inheritance. Not just wealth, oh no, much more than that. A legacy among the stars awaits you." My mind reeled. Inheritance? I was just a humble engineer on Earth, barely scraping by. What could an alien like Zilthar have possibly left me? Before I could voice my doubts, the hologram flickered, and his tone shifted to something more serious. "I know this might seem overwhelming, but you have a purpose, Alex. The universe needs you. Trust me, you'll understand soon enough." He paused, his eyes twinkling, "And don't forget to look for Lyra." "Lyra," I whispered, the name rolling off my tongue like a forgotten melody. The message ended, leaving me in stunned silence, grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. Zilthar was gone, and I was still here, left to decipher this mystery. With a deep breath, I made my way to Zilthar's estate, a sprawling structure that loomed in the distance like a monument to our shared adventures. The ornate architecture was unlike anything on Earth, adorned with alien symbols and vibrant colors that seemed to dance in the light. I could feel a strange energy in the air, as if the very walls were alive with Zilthar's spirit. As I stepped inside, the scent of exotic spices and faint humming filled the air. Every corner held artifacts from distant galaxies, strange crystals, intricate devices, and paintings that seemed to shift as I walked by. I felt like an intruder in a world that was not my own. "Zilthar, what have you gotten me into?" I muttered, running my fingers across a shimmering object that radiated warmth. That's when I noticed a door slightly ajar at the back of the garage. Curiosity piqued, I pushed it open, revealing what looked like a spaceship hidden beneath a layer of dust. The Starlight Dream was magnificent. Its sleek body glistened under the garage lights, and I felt a sense of awe wash over me. It was more than a ship, it was a promise of adventure, of a life beyond the mundane. As I stepped closer, a soft voice broke through my thoughts. "Who are you?" It was a woman, an alien, with ethereal features and shimmering skin that reflected the colors around her. She looked as bewildered as I felt. "I'm Alex," I stammered, my heart racing. I was friends with Zilthar. He left me this ship." "Zilthar?" Her eyes widened, and I could see confusion mingling with an underlying sense of purpose. "He left me too. My name is Lyra. I was meant to assist you." "Assist me?" I echoed, still trying to process everything. "What does that mean? What is my purpose?" Lyra stepped forward, her expression shifting to one of determination. "Zilthar spoke of an inheritance, yes? It's not just material wealth, it's a burden and a blessing. You must embrace it. We have a mission." Before I could respond, the air shifted suddenly, and I heard footsteps approaching. Panic surged through me. "What's happening?" Lyra's gaze sharpened. "We're not alone. We must hurry." Just then, a group of masked figures burst into the garage, their intentions clear as they brandished weapons, demanding the ship. "Surrender the Starlight Dream," one of them shouted, his voice dripping with menace. "Run." I shouted to Lyra, adrenaline coursing through my veins. We had no choice but to fight or flee, and as I glanced at her, I realized that this inheritance was far more dangerous than I had ever imagined. The adventure Zilthar had promised was about to unfold in ways I could never have prepared for. As the Starlight Dream soared away from Earth, a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation washed over me. I clutched the controls tightly, my heart racing as I navigated the ship through the vastness of space. The blue and green hues of Earth faded into the distance, replaced by the twinkling stars that seemed to beckon us forward. "We did it, Lyra. We actually escaped," I exclaimed, glancing over at her. Lyra, seated beside me, looked out at the cosmos with a mix of wonder and sadness. It all feels so unreal, she said softly. Zilthar, he was everything to me. And now I'm just lost. Her words hung in the air, heavy with grief. I could relate. The weight of Zilthar's absence pressed down on me too. He had been my friend, my mentor. I know it's hard, I said, trying to find the right words. But we have to honor his legacy. We can't let his enemies take what he left behind. I took a deep breath, steadying my resolve. We need to figure out our next move. Lyra turned to me, her violet eyes shimmering with determination. You're right. We need to understand what we have at our disposal. She reached out and touched a control panel, her fingers dancing lightly across the glowing surface. Litem meeting. I watched in awe as the ship responded to her touch, lights flickering and screens coming to life. A holographic interface materialized before us, displaying intricate schematics of the Starlight Dream. I can interface with the ship's systems, she explained, her voice filled with a newfound confidence. Zilthar designed it for advanced compatibility with my kind. Wait, you mean you can control the ship? I asked, a mix of fascination and suspicion bubbling within me. What exactly are you? Lyra hesitated, her gaze drifting back to the stars. I'm more than just a companion, Alex. I'm an extension of Zilthar's legacy. He infused me with abilities that allow me to interact with technology on a level that's, well beyond human comprehension. That's incredible. I couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. But why didn't he tell me this? What else don't I know? Maybe he wanted to protect you, she replied, meeting my gaze. Or perhaps he thought it was something you needed to discover for yourself. As we spoke, the ship continued to glide through the cosmos, stars streaming by like ethereal ribbons of light. I felt a sense of camaraderie building between us, a bond forged in the crucible of our shared loss. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped, pulling my attention back to the controls. What's that? I asked, my heart racing once more. Lyra leaned closer, her brow furrowing as she examined the readout. It's a distress signal. It's coming from a nearby planet. Should we check it out? I asked, my instincts kicking in. We should, she replied, her voice steady. But we have to be cautious. Zilthar's enemies could be looking for us, and this signal might be a trap. Or it could be someone in real trouble, I countered, a sense of responsibility washing over me. We can't just ignore it. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. All right, let's approach carefully. We'll keep the ship cloaked and gather more information before making any decisions. As I adjusted the ship's trajectory, I felt the weight of our mission settling heavily on my shoulders. We were no longer just fleeing, we were stepping into the unknown, and the choices we made next could define our future. Just promise me one thing, I said, glancing at her. If it gets dangerous, we'll leave. No heroics. Lyra smirked, a glimmer of mischief in her eyes. No promises, Alex. Zilthar taught me to never shy away from danger. I chuckled despite the tension, feeling a flicker of hope. Well then, let's be careful heroes. With that, we prepared to investigate the distress signal, unaware of the intricate web of danger that awaited us. The stars shone brightly outside, but the shadows of Zilthar's legacy loomed ever closer, whispering secrets yet to be uncovered. As we descended onto the surface of the planet, the atmosphere buzzed with an energy that sent shivers down my spine. The Starlight Dream hummed softly, and I could feel Lyra's presence beside me, both comforting and mysterious. We had followed the distress signal to this desolate world, but as the landscape unfolded before us, I felt an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread. Alex, look over there. Lyra pointed towards a cluster of structures in the distance, their angular designs contrasting sharply against the rugged terrain. That's where the signal originated. I nodded, trying to shake off the feeling that something wasn't quite right. Let's check it out, but stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into. As we approached, a faint sound reached my ears, a low murmur of voices. We ducked behind a rocky outcrop, peering cautiously at the hidden base before us. The sight was alarming, a group of rogue aliens huddled together, their faces twisted in malice as they plotted against us. Zilthar's legacy must never fall into their hands, one of them growled. We need that artifact to ensure his heir doesn't reclaim it. Lyra's expression hardened as she listened intently. They're after something Zilthar left behind. We have to find out what it is. I glanced at her, a surge of determination igniting within me. Then let's find a way to get inside. We need to know what they're planning. We crept along the edge of the base until we spotted an entry point, a narrow opening that led into darkness. I took a deep breath, ready to venture into the unknown. Are you ready? I whispered to Lyra. As ready as I'll ever be, she replied, her voice steady. Let's do this. With a nod, we slipped inside, the air thick with tension. The interior was dimly lit, and the sounds of the rogue aliens grew louder. We moved swiftly, avoiding detection as we navigated through the maze of corridors. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the hall. My heart raced as I turned to see one of the rogues striding towards us. What was that? He shouted, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. Run! I yelled, grabbing Lyra's hand. We bolted down the corridor, our footsteps echoing behind us as alarms blared throughout the base. The sound was deafening, and I could hear the shouts of the rogue aliens as they mobilized to chase us. Over here. Lyra pulled me towards a side passage, and we ducked into a small room filled with crates. If we can just hide for a moment, we might be able to plan our next move. We crouched in the shadows, our breaths heavy with adrenaline. What are they after, Lyra? I asked, desperate for answers. What does Zilthar have that they want so badly? I don't know for sure, she replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. But it must be something powerful. Zilthar always spoke of safeguarding a great secret. The door burst open, and a group of aliens stormed in, scanning the room. I held my breath, praying they wouldn't find us. Lyra's eyes widened as she reached out, her fingers brushing against a crate beside her. A low hum filled the air, and I could feel a strange energy radiating from her. They're coming closer, I whispered, panic rising in my chest. Trust me, she said, her voice calm. I can create a distraction. Before I could respond, she closed her eyes, and the energy around her surged. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the opposite side of the room, drawing the aliens' attention. They turned, rushing toward the noise as Lyra and I seized the opportunity to slip out. We sprinted down the corridor, adrenaline fueling our escape. This way. I shouted, leading us towards the exit. The sound of footsteps grew fainter behind us, but I knew we couldn't let our guard down just yet. As we reached the Starlight Dream, I glanced back at the base, still in disbelief at what we had just experienced. That was too close, I panted, my heart racing. Lyra nodded, her expression serious. We need to leave now. They won't stop until they find us. I quickly punched in the launch sequence, and the ship roared to life. As we ascended into the sky, I took a moment to process everything. What were they talking about? This artifact they're after, what does it mean for us? Lyra turned to me, her eyes gleaming with a mix of fear and resolve. I have a connection to Zilthar's legacy that I haven't fully understood. There's more to this than just riches or power. I think it's something that could change everything. My pulse quickened at her words. What do you mean? I need to learn more about it, she replied, her voice steady. And I believe that if we dig deeper, we might uncover Zilthar's true intentions. Just then, the ship jolted as we broke through the atmosphere. I glanced at the controls, my mind racing. Where do we go from here? Let's head to the Solarian Nebula, she suggested. It's a place Zilthar often spoke of. There might be clues hidden there. I nodded, a sense of determination washing over me. We were in this together, and whatever lay ahead, I knew we would face it as allies, bound by our shared legacy and the promise of uncovering the truth among the stars. As we drifted through the shimmering nebula, the colors swirling around us like cosmic paint, I felt a strange mix of awe and trepidation. The Starlight Dream hummed softly, its advanced technology responding to our every need. Lyra sat next to me at the control panel, her fingers dancing over the holographic interfaces with an elegance that mesmerized me. I couldn't help but steal glances at her. The way her iridescent skin caught the light of the nebula gave her an otherworldly beauty that was hard to ignore. Alex, she said, her voice laced with curiosity, do you feel that? There's something hidden within the ship's archives that resonates with my energy. It's as if Zilthar left something for us to uncover. I furrowed my brow, intrigued yet cautious. What do you mean? What could Zilthar have hidden that's so important? Lyra's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief. Let's find out. With a swift motion, she activated a hidden console, and the ship's interior shifted. Screens flickered to life, displaying streams of data and images that filled the room with a glow. As the information flooded in, I felt a shiver creep up my spine. Zilthar's research, it's extensive. I gasped, scrolling through the archives filled with intergalactic maps and schematics that detailed various conspiracies. He was onto something far bigger than we realized. Lyra nodded, her expression serious. He warned of shadows lurking in the void, enemies who would stop at nothing to seize control of his legacy. Her fingers paused over a particular entry labeled The Prophecy of the Air. Read it, I urged, my heart racing with anticipation. The prophecy speaks of an heir who will rise from the ashes of their predecessor, possessing the wisdom to wield the power hidden within the universe, she recited, her voice steady. It also mentions an artifact, a key to controlling an energy source that Zilthar concealed to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. I exchanged a look with Lyra, the weight of the revelation settling between us. The artifact, it's what those rogue aliens were after. They must believe that whoever possesses it can harness unimaginable power. Lyra's expression hardened. We can't let that happen. This power was meant to protect the universe, not to be wielded as a weapon. As we discussed our next move, the ship's sensors suddenly blared an alarm. We're not alone, I said, my heart racing. Something's approaching fast. Lyra's eyes widened, and she quickly adjusted the ship's systems. I can feel them. A fleet. Zilthar's enemies have tracked us down. What do we do? I asked, panic beginning to creep in. Stay calm. We need to outmaneuver them. I can enhance the ship's cloaking capabilities, but we need to act fast. Her voice was filled with determination, and despite the dread that surged within me, I found comfort in her resolve. I nodded, adrenaline pumping through my veins. Let's do it. As she worked, I kept an eye on the sensors, watching as a cluster of ships appeared on the display. They were sleek and menacing, their hulls glinting with deadly intent. They're closing in, I warned. Hold on. Lyra shouted as she initiated the ship's cloaking system. The nebula around us shimmered, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could escape. But just as we settled into the protective cover of the nebula, a violent jolt shook the ship. What was that? I yelled, gripping the console. Damn it! They've got some kind of tracking device. Lyra's fingers flew over the controls, her focus unwavering. We need to reconfigure the energy output to divert their attention. Can you do that? I asked, afraid to think of the consequences if we failed. Trust me, she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. We can't let them find us. This is our chance to outsmart them. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my ears. Okay, let's give it everything we've got. As she worked, I felt a surge of determination flood through me. Zilthar had entrusted us with this ship, this legacy. We couldn't let it slip through our fingers. We had to protect not only ourselves but also the future that Zilthar had envisioned. Just then, an ominous voice crackled over the ship's comms, sending chills down my spine. Alex Carter and Lyra, you cannot hide from us. Surrender the ship and the artifact, and we may let you live. Lyra's jaw tightened, and I could see the fire in her eyes. We're not giving in, she declared fiercely. We'll fight for what Zilthar believed in. Then prepare for your end, the voice sneered, and I knew we were running out of time. The stakes had never been higher. The blaring alarms of the Starlight Dream pierced through the silence of space, a chilling reminder that danger was nipping at our heels. I gripped the control panel tightly, my palms slick with sweat, as I navigated the ship through the swirling chaos of enemy fire. Lyra, can you boost the shields? I shouted over the cacophony of explosions and warning beeps. On it, she replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil. I glanced at her, and my heart raced not only from the imminent danger but also from the fierce determination etched across her alien features. Her luminous eyes flickered with an energy that seemed almost otherworldly. I'd never seen anyone handle a crisis like this before. As I maneuvered the ship, Lyra's fingers danced over the holographic interface. Blinding flashes erupted outside the viewport, illuminating the darkness of space like a furious storm. Shields at maximum. I'm channeling energy from the engines, she exclaimed, her brow furrowing in concentration. I could feel the Starlight Dream vibrating beneath us, as if it were alive, resonating with Lyra's intent. Let's give them a taste of what we've got. I shouted, my pulse quickening. I fired back at the pursuing ships, each shot a testament to our defiance. The first enemy vessel exploded in a brilliant display of flames, sending debris spiraling out into the void. Nice shot. Lyra cheered, her exhilaration infectious. But before I could savor our small victory, a warning light flashed on the console. Incoming missiles. I yelled, panic creeping into my voice. Lyra, can you cover me? She interrupted, her voice fierce with resolve. Before I could question her plan, she closed her eyes and extended her hands toward the screen. A shimmering energy enveloped her, pulsating with a vibrant blue hue. The air around us crackled with electric tension, and I watched in awe as she directed the energy outward. In a stunning display, the missiles veered off course, their trajectories altered by Lyra's unseen force. What are you doing? I gasped, astonished. I'm manipulating the energy fields around us, she explained, her eyes still closed. It's like weaving a tapestry of power. I can feel Zilther's essence guiding me. My mind raced, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of her abilities. This is incredible, I exclaimed, realizing that Lyra was more than just a companion. She was a force to be reckoned with, an extension of Zilther's legacy. As we continued to evade enemy fire, I felt a surge of confidence. Let's push forward, I urged, steering the ship into the heart of the enemy fleet. If we can break their formation, we can make our escape. With a fierce determination, Lyra summoned her powers again, creating a protective barrier around us as we plunged into the fray. The Starlight Dream surged forward, dodging blasts and returning fire. I could see the enemy ships faltering, their formations breaking apart as they struggled to regroup. Keep firing, Alex. We can turn this around, Lyra shouted, her voice echoing with an intensity one had never heard before. I nodded, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, each one finding its mark. Just when victory felt within our grasp, a sudden jolt rocked the ship. Alarms blared, and the ship shuddered violently. What the hell was that? I yelled, gripping the controls to steady myself. I don't know, Lyra replied, her face paling. Something's wrong with the power systems. My heart sank as I realized the truth. We're being sabotaged, I shouted, my voice tinged with dread. I glanced around the cockpit, searching for the source of the problem. Suddenly, I noticed a shadowy figure moving toward us from the back of the ship. Who's there? I demanded, adrenaline fueling my confrontation. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a familiar face twisted with a sinister grin. Surprised to see me? The traitor sneered, a glint of malice in their eyes. My blood ran cold as the realization hit me. This was the enemy in disguise, a wolf among sheep. You should have known better than to trust anyone. Get away from the controls, I shouted, but before I could react, the traitor lunged forward, fingers flying over the panels. The ship trembled again, and the lights flickered ominously. Lyra, I screamed, desperation clawing at my throat. We need to stop them. Hold on, she shouted back, and in that moment, I saw the resolve in her eyes strengthen. The energy around her crackled with a fierceness I had never witnessed before. As the traitor continued their sabotage, I braced myself for the battle ahead, knowing that our legacy, and our lives, depended on us fighting back with everything we had. As the alarms blared throughout the Starlight Dream, I felt a sense of urgency that was almost palpable. The ship trembled beneath my feet, a stark reminder that our escape was far from guaranteed. Lyra, what's happening? I shouted over the cacophony of warning signals. She was at the control panel, her fingers dancing over the holographic interface, her expression a mix of focus and fear. The ship's systems are failing. We need to stabilize the core, she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. I rushed to her side, peering over her shoulder as data streamed across the screen. I could see the energy levels plummeting. Can't we just boost the power? I suggested. Her eyes flickered with a hint of something. Was it doubt? It's not that simple, Alex. If I force it, we could explode. But there's something Zilther left me, something I didn't understand until now. What do you mean? I asked, my heart racing. Lyra took a deep breath, her features softening for a moment. I am Zilther's daughter. I carry his legacy within me, a unique blend of our races. My mind reeled. You're serious?
I stammeret.
But how is that possible? I don't know all the details, but I can feel it. The ship, the artifact, everything is connected to me. I believe I can unlock its true potential, but it's risky. Risky? We're about to get blown to bits. You have to try. I urged, desperation creeping into my voice. Lyra nodded, determination replacing the fear in her eyes. Okay, just trust me. I'll channel my energy into the ship. She closed her eyes, and an ethereal glow surrounded her. I watched in awe as the light intensified, illuminating the cockpit with a brilliant radiance. Now, she commanded, and I hit the emergency override. The ship surged forward, but it was the energy from Lyra that began to stabilize the core. I could feel the vibrations change, the ship responding to her newfound abilities. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the hull. It's working! I shouted, exhilaration flooding my veins. The alarms quieted, and the ship felt more alive than ever. But just as a sense of relief washed over me, the rogue alien fleet appeared on our sensors, their ships closing in.
Lyra.
They're coming. I yelled, my heart sinking. I can handle them, she replied, her voice steady. We need to position ourselves for an attack. The artifact, it can amplify my powers. I didn't understand the full extent of what she was saying, but I trusted her. Then let's do it. Lyra focused her energy, and suddenly, the ship's weapon systems powered up with a fierce intensity. Prepare for battle, she commanded, and I gripped the controls, feeling the adrenaline surge through me. As the rogue ships approached, I unleashed a barrage of fire. We're not going down without a fight. I yelled, determination flooding my voice. Lyra's energy pulsed through the ship, enhancing our firepower in an astonishing way. Now Alex, she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. I fired again, and our shots struck true, disabling one of the enemy vessels. But then came the leader of the rogues, a hulking figure clad in dark armor, his ship gliding effortlessly among his underlings. You think you can defy us, half-breed? He sneered through the comms. Lyra's eyes narrowed, her energy flaring. I am not just a half-breed. I am Zilthur's heir, and I will unite this galaxy against tyranny. The words echoed in the cockpit, and I could feel the power coursing through her, a force beyond anything I had ever witnessed. Let's finish this, I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging within me. With a fierce determination, she unleashed a wave of energy that spread like wildfire, engulfing the enemy ships. They faltered, caught off guard by the sheer force of her ability. Now Alex, she urged. I maneuvered the ship into position, firing with precision and purpose. The leader's ship shook violently as our attacks landed, and I could see the panic in his eyes. Retreat, he shouted, but it was too late. With one final surge of energy from Lyra, his ship erupted into a dazzling display of light. As silence fell over the battlefield, I turned to Lyra, my heart swelling with pride and awe. You did it. You really did it. She smiled, but her expression was serious. This was only the beginning, Alex. Zilthur entrusted me with more than just a legacy. He prepared me to unite the factions, to bring peace to the galaxy. I realized then that our journey was far from over. The true inheritance was not just the wealth or power Zilthur left behind. It was the bond we had forged, a connection that transcended our differences. Together, we would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by fate among the stars.